Good morning, friends. Greetings, YouTube and internet. I decided to make this video because I get a lot of questions what it's like living in New England. So, for starters, I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. I also get a lot of questions on what it was like growing up in Nashville. I grew up in a part of Nashville called East Nashville. It has transformed throughout the years for the better, I would say. There's plenty of things to do and see. It's really close to the Grand Ole Opry. There's just a ton of little speakeasies and restaurants and mom and pop restaurants, and there's a ton of things to do. But the overall aesthetic of it has changed, and also the demographic has changed as many people have relocated there, probably because the cost of living was cheaper, there are no state taxes and that sort of thing. But I lived in Nashville until my very early 20s, and I relocated to Atlanta. And the reason I got to Atlanta is I was a flight attendant for a major airline that was based out of Atlanta. And I had every intention on that move being temporary. But lo and behold, I wound up staying there over 20 years and lived in just about every corner of the city. Mostly I lived on the east side of Atlanta, or the south side of Atlanta. So south of 75 going toward Macon, and down 75 toward, like I said, toward Macon, or toward Florida. And both my children were born there, and one still lives there. She's about to finish grad school, and the other one relocated to New England with me. He's a senior in high school this year. So I relocated to Connecticut, and I visited Maine during COVID and fell in love with it. I always knew that the North felt like home to me. I don't really know why. I would visit New York often. I would go for the holidays, I would go for Christmas, I would go just all the time. And if you hear a noise, it's because my dog has a giant ball that he's playing with. But I didn't really feel like New York might be the place for me to live, but it would have been great if I lived close enough where I could go as much as I wanted. So I started looking at Maine, and I liked the proximity to the city. I liked the proximity to Portland. I liked that I could get to Boston relatively quickly, which I also love. And I interviewed for a couple of jobs in Maine, and was eventually offered a position in Connecticut. So me and my family relocated to Connecticut. It will be 3 years ago in February of 2025, and settled in a coastal town, very close to the train, so I can walk right out my front door, catch the Metro North train, and about an hour and 20 minutes later, I will be at Grand Central Station, right in the middle of Manhattan, which is great. I go often. I haven't been going as often lately just because there has been an influx of crime. I'm sure you've heard about it. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've definitely tried to avoid certain areas and don't do the subway and that sort of thing at night, especially late at night. And even though I've always felt safe walking around New York City by myself, I would say in the last couple of years, I feel less safe doing that. I prefer to go with either a group or perhaps my son or a friend or somebody else. Um, Likewise, I can also catch the train going the opposite direction in about the same amount of time, be in Boston. I usually drive to Boston. I do go for work occasionally. Um, it's a great city as well. I would absolutely 100% consider living there if I didn't live here. About an hour, maybe 15, 20 minutes as well. It can be a Rhode Island. I go there during the summer more than the winter. I was actually just there a few days ago in Westerly or Watch Hill, which some of you may know is also the home place of Taylor Swift. Her house is beautiful. I've posted pictures of it before if you've ever looked at my TikTok under the same name. And then of course there's New Hampshire and Vermont as well, which I've not spent as much time in. It is a little bit further away, but both are equally as beautiful and have their own charm. What I would say about New England, first and foremost, and the differences in southern states is that it is incredibly expensive to live here. And particularly where I live, because I live in a commutable distance to New York City. I only live, just for reference, about 45 miles outside of Manhattan. So a lot of people in my town do commute to the city because you can get more for your money. Now, when I say more for your money, I sold my house just outside of Atlanta, and that was a 3-bedroom, probably 1,500 square foot house, 2 full bathrooms, on approximately an acre lot. That was also relatively new. It was a pretty new house. And that house I paid around $100,000 for. And in 2015, it was a foreclosure. So there was some work that we had to do to it, mostly cosmetic, nothing too major. Where I live now, bought a house in the coastal town that I live in. There were no homes here that did not start at least with a 4. And those homes were definitely drastically different than what I'm used to. I wound up buying a home probably in the mid 400,000s. It is a incredibly old colonial style home with the stairs of death. The stairs are very narrow and dangerous. In fact, I had to put a handrail. There was no handrail when I moved into this house. The kitchen is very small. The rest of the house, aesthetically, I really like it. It has a lot of charm to it. But taking your laundry down 2 flights of stairs because the washer and dryer is in the basement is not fun. However, I will say I'm lucky because I do have friends whose washer may be upstairs and their dryer may be down 2 flights to the basement. So in that respect, I'm lucky. I also have central heat and air, which a lot of homes here do not have. They'll have a window unit, and a lot of schools don't have air conditioning at all. So when it gets really hot here, which is not very often, but it does happen, then oftentimes school will be closed. So I'm lucky that I do have central heat and air, which leads me to utilities. Utilities here are astronomically higher, just the rate structure in general, than what I'm used to. It is also the industry that I happen to work in, and so I do have a considerable amount of experience and knowledge in utility rates. And I will tell you, everything is more expensive. The electric is more expensive. Gas is more expensive. To heat your home is incredibly expensive. I have a oil tank And so that starts getting filled up usually automatically sometime in the month of October. And I usually get the last fill in April. Typically, so far, this is my third year or third winter in this house because I moved in the fall. So second year, but third winter. It cost about $1,300 to fill up the tank. And depending on how much heat I use, it has a gauge on it that almost looks like your gas tank. And so you can watch it and you can call them to fill it up, or you can get on one of the like automatic plans where they measure and try to forecast what they think your usage will be, and they will come out and fill it up for you automatically and then leave you a bill at your door, and then you have 30 days to pay it. If you don't pay it, they will pause your service, which is really bad because you are then in the dead of winter and you may really have no heat. Groceries, I don't think are probably much different than anywhere else. When I was in Nashville, I did notice a little bit of a difference, but I think it's because we don't have your grocery stores here like you do down south, like your Kroger, your Publix, and things like that. We have a ShopRite. We do have a Trader Joe's, which is great, but if you're like me, I'm used to cooking certain things with certain types of things, and it's all their own branded stuff. There was an Aldi's, which I just posted a video today about an Aldi's, so I did go to Aldi's today. And there are certain things there that I do like, and there are a few things there that I don't like. Car insurance, definitely higher. Car tags. My car tags in Georgia was $25. My car tag here is, you have to pay tax on your car every year, so depending on the make and model of your car, it can be very expensive. Mine is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $800, and you pay it, I believe, in February, and then in like, I don't know, you pay it 2 times a year, so they do split it for you at least. Depending on what town you live in, if you live in a coastal town, you will get a pass for the beach. So the beaches are private. So if you don't live in a coastal town and you go to a beach that a surrounding area, the parking is pretty expensive for those, but and by expensive, I think it's somewhere around $50. However, you can park at certain areas, and during the summer they have a shuttle that will take you to the beach. Not exactly fun if you're dragging chairs and all of that sort of thing with you. Which leads me to the beaches. Not the same as a Florida beach. I would say the Rhode Island beaches are probably the best if you're looking for beach time. It's similar to the experience that you would have in Florida as far as the waves and that sort of thing. But in Connecticut, you live on the Sound, meaning a lot of that is blocked, whether it be hurricanes, waves, that sort of thing, by Long Island. And so the coast has Long Island that comes out, and then there's, the water, and then, of course, Connecticut. There is a ferry that leaves pretty close to me that goes over to Port Jefferson in Long Island, which I will do sometimes. It's a really neat little port town. I have not taken my car. You can take your car on the ferry. I've not done it. It's kind of pricey. It's, I think, somewhere in the range of about $60 each way. So you can take your car and drive around, which if I were to go to, let's say, like the Hamptons or somewhere like that, then I would take my car and do that. Winters here. The snow, since I've lived here, has not been bad at all. In fact, I'm usually just running to the door like, oh, it's gonna snow, because that's what we always did when I was living in the South. But we've had like a couple of okay-ish snows, but nothing really to speak of. And in fact, my family in Nashville got more snow last year than what we got here. So, but the issue is it gets cold really in October. This year has been a little different. It's been unusually warm or unseasonally warm. But it gets cold in October, and it stays cold really until like May. And so even when summer comes, like June, July, August, because I'm from the South, especially South Atlanta, um, the heat is just not the same. So you can sit at the beach on an August day and it'd be very pleasant. Whereas if you're sitting at the beach in Florida or on the Gulf on an August day, you're gonna be sitting out there a couple hours, and if you're like me, then you're ready to go. Let me go back, let me take a shower, let me get something to eat, let me go shopping and get out of the heat because it just drains you. But so the summers here are very nice. There's always something going on, festivals. We have an oyster festival in my town that's a really big deal. There's always these artesian markets. There's lots of local artists, lots of local restaurants. Every town is very walkable, and it's very interesting here because down south everything was referred to as what county do you live in or what city do you live in, and they don't really say that here. Nobody really ever asks you what county you live in because there aren't that many, but mostly they will say what town do you live in, and everything is very town specific. Your mill rate, your taxes, very town specific. And there's a ton of things to do. A big Italian population, as you can imagine. Oh, this guy wanted to join. There's a very big Italian population, and because of that, obviously, there's a lot of Italian food, which is great. I'm not an expert at cooking Italian food, so I have noticed, funny story, my son had an event at school where it's a potluck, and I brought like a 7-layer Mexican dip type of thing, or like sausage balls, or little smokies with the crescent rolls. Yeah, nobody, and I do mean nobody, touched it. Everything was like baked pasta, stuffed bread, rigatoni, pizza. Pizza is a big deal here, especially in New Haven, which is the pizza capital of the world, or at least they proclaim it as. I would have to agree with it. It's delicious. It's different than what I'm used to. Sort of that burnt, charred edge, but it's so good. And there are a couple of places that are really more famous than others, especially up around the Yale campus, which is Sally's, Modern. There's a Party's, which is in West Haven. I think they may have more than one location, and Pepe's, and Bar Pizza. So I have been to Bar and I have been to Pepe's a few times, but I have not been to Sally's and I have not been to Modern, so I cannot speak to it. But I have had some Parties, and it's good. There's also a couple local places that are really good. In my town, we have a place called Gigi's. That's great. In a neighboring town, there's a place called, I think it's called Topsy Tomato or Tipsy Tomato or something that's really good. There's Firehouse that's really good. And one of my favorites, which is Colony. And something I discovered with pizza here is a lot of people will not call it pizza. They will call it a Pizza, which is spelled A-P-I-Z-Z-A. Who knew? Not me. And the popular choice of pizza here is a hot oil, which is like the pizza with a little pepper in the middle that sort of spreads out to the pieces. My personal favorite is the hot oil with meatball. Chef's kiss. But as we are getting into winter, one of the things that I'm noticing is that it is now time for me to readjust my schedule. And by readjust my schedule, I mean you have to get up earlier. You have to warm your car up. You have to be prepared with what you're going to wear, not just to work, but in the parking lot to get to work, because there's often ice. I took some really hard falls last year on ice, 3 to be exact, and that I'm still sort of reeling from, or have some just residual injuries from that. So walking into my building with heels on is going to be a no. I have to learn my lesson. So I will keep a pair of boots or something like that just to wear into the building or on a sidewalk or whatever. Most of the accidents happen when you're shoveling, which you absolutely have to do. I also live right in a downtown area of town, and you are required to, there's a certain amount of time after a snow, you are required to clear your sidewalk. If you don't, you will get fined. So you have to clear your sidewalk. Also usually clear off my front porch. That's where I took one of hard falls. And that actually was captured on Ring camera, and I think I have it on TikTok if you're interested in seeing that. But overall, all things considered, and weighing out the expense and weighing out the harsh winters, we also had harsh summers in the South that I didn't particularly like. So for me personally, I have no regrets, and not a single regret actually. And I have been thinking as time goes on, I will make more videos about what life is like living in New England, Connecticut, what it's like to visit Rhode Island. I've started venturing into that. I just haven't had the time that I really want. I'm also not an expert at editing videos and conjuring up followers and getting sponsors and all the things. I see the influencers walking around New York City all the time with the camera up. And so I'm definitely no expert in that. You're more than welcome to watch, like, subscribe, but don't expect any fancy transitions and overlays and all the things that you're used to seeing probably in some of the videos that you watch, because that's just not going to be the case. But maybe as I practice more and I get better at it, I will be able to make them look a little prettier. I do have a vlogging camera that I've taken with me to New York City a couple times when I've gone over to Roosevelt Island. I have a video from Roosevelt Island. I have a few TikTok lives of walking through Manhattan or Midtown. I just uploaded one the other day, which was sort of a combination of Mystic, Connecticut, which is beautiful, Watch Hill in Rhode Island, and then also went to see The Great Gatsby on Broadway. So a lot going on, and I'm trying to make more videos as time goes on, particularly in things that I think interest people. And I do think people are interested in relocating. I think people are more than ever working from home and are able to and have the flexibility to work in other places. Unfortunately for me, my company required that I relocate, and also we are in the office as of September 1st every day, 5 days a week. So even though there are people who have that flexibility, some don't, which has led them to lead to other opportunities, obviously. But you know, we'll see what the future holds. But for now, my son will be finishing out his senior year. We will be staying in Connecticut for that. And then who knows what's next? You never know. But I hope that you got something out of this video. I'm going to be doing some things around my house and making some videos of what it's like to live in a typical colonial style New England home, and I'll be uploading those as time goes on. So like and subscribe and give me a follow. It does help me to be able to make these videos if I think that they're of value to somebody. But I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and weekend, and thanks for watching.